Hi, I'm Lee from MIDI. Today we're going to show you an approach that catches proper fish on a natural water that's totally infested with small tiny blade roach, and it's going to go and show you the way that it's going to target the right size of fish to hopefully give you a lovely bag of skimmers on a big natural lake, not a commercial water. However, you can use these tactics on a commercial water. It's just a little twist that I use. Everybody that knows me knows that I love fishing pellets, especially hard pellets. And I've sort of tailored an approach for small to medium size and the odd bigger skimmer that will catch you more fish. Right, so what are we going to do today? We're going to be fishing pellets, micro pellets, lovely small 2mm pellet on one line, and ground bait, dark fish meal ground bait. I've just dyed off because the lake here today is quite clear and it's got a little bit of micro in it, and we can alter that consistency throughout the day to suit what the fish really want. I'm going to feed maybe a small nugget to start with, just to kickstart the swim on the one line, on the short line at about 11 meters. Hook baits. These are just a mixture of small 4mm pellets that I've picked up from fisheries. You get a feel for pellets, you know yourselves. You like pellets. If you like a pellet, you stick with them. Like I said, I've just picked these up from around the country where I've been fishing. They're the 4mm. And very much the same with the 6mm. Nice little pellet. Again, like I said, just picked them up from around the country from where I'm fishing. Little fisheries around the country where we go during the winter time. And if they are a nice pellet, get yourself a few bags, because fishery pellets change all the time. So, you're asking me why I'm fishing hard pellets. This time of the year, the fish are feeding quite ravenously. And if you were to fish small baits like maggots, casters, worms maybe, you get absolutely pitted out on a place like this. It's got thousands and thousands of fish in here. Small blades, you know, really small, and you just be in and out with those all day. By fishing pellets, you're eliminating that problem. You're being selective to catch the right side of fish, the right type of fish. However, this method is a method that will work possibly up till end of September, start of November, October, November time. In the colder months, you're probably better off going down a more sweet ground bait route and possibly fishing maggots, casters for the skimmers rather than what I'm doing today. Right, this is my pellet rig for fishing hard pellets over the micros on our 10 o'clock line. So we've got a little gripper pot on the top, 4 to 6 reactor core elastic, 4x14 wire, lovely little float, you can read them perfectly. 016 main line, down to an 010 hook length, with 7 or 8 number 9s directly on top of a 6-inch hook length, with a KM1 20 with a band. So, onto our ground bait line, and pellets, obviously. Same pot, same elastic, same line. Exactly the same float. The shorting pattern is totally different on this one. We're actually fishing over ground bait. So we're trying to get everything down nice and tight quick. We're not trying to catch on the settle, we're trying to catch over a bed of bait that we're gonna try and leave for quite a while before we actually go over it. So we've got a small bulk, quite close, probably a foot away from the hook, a small number 9 on the hook length, which again is 010, again to a KM1 with a band. Right, okay, you're wondering why I'm using such light floats. They're very simple rigs, they're very versatile rigs. You can move the shot around on them to tailor how the fish are feeding on the day. Very similar to F1 fishing, very fine, dotted right down to a dimple, seeing every single movement on the float. And if you sort of fish these floats like you do for F1s, for skimmers, you won't go far wrong. The type of fishing that we're doing or going to be doing today is very, very similar to F1s. You're feeding small balls of micros, feeding small balls of ground bait. Very, very similar in the fashion that we do for F1s. And in fact, I actually use these floats for F1 fishing. Our session today, we've kicked off feeding 2 lines. So we've fed a short line at 11 metres with ground bait and micro pellets, and we've fed another line with just micro pellets at 13 metres at an angle. So we've kicked off with a small ball of fish meal ground bait darkened off on our 11 metre line, and on our 13 metre line we put probably a conker sized ball of micro pellets. So onto our first rig, we've gone out with a 4mm pellet in the band, a hard 4mm pellet, and we've started catching virtually straight away. We've had probably 8, 9, maybe 10 small skimmers, 4 to 6 8 ounce, and then we've hooked a bream, which was probably £3. But unfortunately that's come off sort of halfway back, and that's been sort of the way the session sort of panned out today. You've had to keep moving things about, changing things up, changing the way we fed, changing our rigs. We've caught, don't get me wrong, we've caught really, really well today in spells. Like I say, swapping between the ground bait line and the pellet line. The pellet line has been very, very good, whereas the ground bait line has been good. It hasn't given us many small fish, but it's given us some bigger fish, but not so many as on the pellet line. So our rigs today, we've incorporated bulks, strung out rigs, and yes, we've had to change things up a bit today. So as I showed you earlier, the rigs that we used earlier were strung out to start with, and this is what I mean by strung out. So we're strung out with number 9s, little trimming shot, and a shot on a hook length for our pellets, with a KM1, like I said, for a 4mm pellet in the band. And that's how we've started. And we've caught loads of fish on this throughout the day. It's gone really, really well. We've had to change from one line to another throughout the day. And basically, what we've had to do at the end, or sort of 3/4 of the way through the session, which actually transformed our session, was I've been feeding small balls of micros on the pellet line. And yes, it's been very good. And it's sort of grouped the fish quite well. But then things went quite funny. The sun came out, the fish wanted to come up off the bottom. So we've had to really sort of force things in a way where we've caught a load of fish on the settle today. So whereas our rig is going in, we're lowering our rig in, and just as it's settling, we're getting a bite. Little tiny dink, fish on. But then things became quite difficult. Obviously the sun was playing a part. The water started to tow, and we have to take all these things into consideration. So the fishing became a little bit more difficult. So we were having to swap and change between our pellet line and our ground bait line. And like I said, the ground bait line wasn't brilliant, But when we went and we put some ground bait in and we went back to our pellet line and then moved back to our ground bait line after we'd rested it, we always caught a big one straight away. And when I mean a big one, sort of like a 12 ouncer up to like £3. So that's been good. But by far and away, the pellet line has been the best. So towards the end of our session, whereas, like I said, I've been putting small nuggets of micros in, I've reverted to picking the big cup up and putting half a pot of loose micros in and resting it. When I've gone back on it, I've actually swapped the way my rigs worked. So I've gone from having a shot just under the hook length and I've moved it right down, so we've gone almost 2.5 inches, 3 inches from the hook, really close to the hook, and then we've bulked everything down with our shots. We've pulled everything down, so we're getting everything down a lot quicker. So we've got 8 or 9 number 9s. So now you can see it's all a very condensed rig shotting pattern in the bottom foot of the rig. And this has actually transformed the way the peg was starting to work. We were catching loads and loads of fish, proper bites, no messing about. We went through a stage where we were missing lots of bites. I think that was fish just hovering above the bait, but with this rig it actually got it down. Like I said, 2.5 inches from the hook, we've got a number 9, and it was just being nailed every single time. And we've ended up catching a lovely bag of fish. Probably had 30-35 pound of skimmers. Lots of small roach in there, up to like 6 ounces, which don't normally show, but I think that's down to the weather, how it's affected the fishing today. But like I said, nothing is set in stone. Mess about with the way the rigs work. Alter your shotting. See what works. If it doesn't work, just go back to what you were using before. Alright, I hope you've enjoyed our little soiree today. It's been great. I really enjoyed it. Like and subscribe to the MIDI YouTube channel, please. That'd be great. If you see me on the bank, come and have a chat. Very open to people coming up and having a chat. See you on the bank soon. Bye.